when you think about who, more than anyone else, has the effect, the true effect over the most amount of people that can make an impact politically, economically, Tucker Carlson is the person who is standing head and shoulders above everybody else. And I give him a lot of credit, because it would be one thing if he were to make a comment that was sort of a throwaway line that was seen as good in a sea of other lines that was not any good. But his consistency on a lot of key issues, especially Israel, is why he is becoming such a dominant force, and why he has coalesced with the likes of Joe Kent, Carrie Prejean-Bawler, and Candace Owens. This America First movement, anti-Israel, anti-war movement with somebody like Thomas Massie waiting in the wings, is the best thing we have going right now. The left is completely decimated. It can't get its story straight. And with the attempts to actually create a real movement, you know what the best movement is going right now that's considered the left in the United States, ladies and gentlemen? It is the Green Beret Green Party. It's Anthony Aguilar. It's Brian McGuinness. It's Greg Stoker. It's Butch Ware. That's the real left movement. But it's in its infantile stages, and it doesn't have substantial core backing as of yet. That doesn't mean that it won't, which isn't just upon us to help continue to facilitate. So, why does this matter? Because Tucker Carlson is going global now, and this little Brit wants to get him into trouble for some parsing language about Zionism and what it really means.
Are critical of the government of Israel. Do you believe in Israel's right to exist? Would you consider yourself a Zionist in that narrow definition?
What does that mean, a right to exist?
The existence of the political state of Israel as
it doesn't have the fucking right to exist at all. Anyone who understands anything about nations is that they do not have a right to exist. And yes, I do wish he would just say no, but Tucker's playing politics. We know where he stands, even if he doesn't want to say it. But he is making this woman look like a fool. Now, I forget her name. I know I've covered her before. It's been a little while. Because this lady sat down, I think is it the Clash Report? She interviewed Netanyahu. And she handled him actually pretty well. I got to give her credit where it was due. Yeah, so this is an example of what is it that you have to do to deal with perfidy. Yes, thank you, Philip. Thank you, Phil. Good to see you, pal. Perfidy. Oh, depending on how it's pronounced with the Brits. Perfidy, perhaps. There's more to be said.
It has a right. What does that mean?
But you think it should continue in its existence as a state right now. So you do not agree with Iran, for example.
Well, let me just ask, since you asked me the question, it's fair for me to get you to define the term so I can answer it. You've asked two questions. The first was, do you believe Israel has a right to exist? And the second question was, do you believe Israel should continue to go on as a nation state? And those are very different questions. So I often hear the phrase...
Having been created as a political entity in 1948,
does it have a right to exist? Is that what you're asking?
I don't want to get hung up on the right. Should it continue to exist? That's how I define narrowly Zionism.
Because the phrase you used was devised by the Israeli government. Of course, does it have a right to exist? And so my question to you would be, what does that mean?
Why don't you answer my question? It's a very simple question.
I don't know what your question is. Are you asking, does it have a right to exist, or do I want it to exist? Do I seek its destruction?
Fine, answer it that way.
Well, of course I don't seek its destruction.
Okay,
I've already said, as you know, because I said it to you, I don't want Israel to be destroyed or have to use nuclear weapons.
We've established that you are in that narrow terms a Zionist. If that's how
I'm in no sense a Zionist.
This woman has got a lot of gall to even suggest that somebody like Tucker Carlson is a Zionist. But I will say this. I understand what Tucker is doing, and I understand why he's doing it. If you listen carefully to what he said, it's actually very important. Like I said, he is very smart and very shrewd. He said, I don't want Israel to not exist, and I don't want them to use nuclear weapons. See, you can't use language at his level like Israel shouldn't exist. You know why? Because when you start using that language at a level like Tucker Carlson, that's when somebody within the Israeli military is thinking, yeah, we're going to have to use nuclear weapons. They're already there, but we don't want to give them any reason to believe that they should be able to get away with it. So therein lies the rub. Do I think that Israel should exist? No. Now, they'll, surmise that notion is, well, they should all die. Whatever happens to them after the United States is no longer their bank account. I mean, then we'll see. That's up to them to survive. It's not our responsibility. However, be very careful how we talk about Israel. Because the more they get backed into a corner, and the more that people don't want to deal with them, the more likely they're going to go out in a blaze of glory. So I totally get why Tucker's being careful with his words.
I don't want any country to be destroyed at all, and I don't want people to die, particularly ones who committed no crime, because I don't believe in killing innocents, period. That's the basis of Western civilization. Eastern civilization is a whole different view. They believe in collective punishment. I don't.
So you're in no sense a Zionist?
I don't even know what that means. Why don't you define the term, and then I'll tell you whether I am.
I've just defined it.
What's
you
a
said
Zionist?
that a Zionist, in my narrow term, this definition is that the state of Israel, the political state of Israel, has the right to continue existing.
The right? Where does that right come from?
That's a great question. They don't have a right. It doesn't exist. It has been made up. It's been made up not only since 1948, but the Balfour Declaration, which was implemented about, I want to say 40 years prior to that, in conjunction with the Schofield Bible. It's so obvious. Hey, Scotland does have the right to exist. Israel is an ethno-state, or at least it's attempting to be one. And Israel is also responsible, in conjunction with our State Department, for the most heinous acts on the globe of the past century. Now, if there's one thing we have the ability to do here stateside, it's to collectively work together to break this stranglehold. U.S. empire will not be long for this world, but the one thing we want to ensure is that even if the U.S. empire is collapsing, that we don't get driven straight to hell with Israel, because Israel isn't just collapsing, it's being destroyed. And there's a big difference.
What do you mean? These are I'm not being a lawyer about it. I just want to know what you're asking me.
You answer the question.
Because I don't know what you're asking me.
Let's go to the
Wait,
third.
no. I think a lot. You don't want to define your question, and I don't know why. I don't know what you're asking me. I've already said I don't want Israel to be destroyed. I don't want anyone to be killed. And you've said, does Israel have a right to exist? Does it have my question is, what right are you talking about? Does Britain have a right to exist? Does the United States have a right to exist?
There was a world order built up after 1945 which suggested that aggression should not be condoned into countries, that countries with borders have the right to intervene.
I totally agree with that.
Okay.
Which is why the first thing that Israel did within 2 weeks of this war starting, which is supposedly existential for them, was take southern Lebanon, take someone else's country, as they have done repeatedly. And no one even mentions that. And so I guess I would be opposed to that, because I think Lebanon has a right to exist. I thought Gaza had a right to exist. But I noticed that as soon as we start apportioning rights, only one country gets them.
No, I did not say that. You're absolutely putting words into my mouth.
Because I believe, here's what I do believe, since you asked. I believe in universally applicable standards. And if they're not universally applicable, they're not standards, they're preferences. That's why I believe in human rights, not ethnic rights. I don't think Jews have more rights or less rights than anyone else. I don't think Christians have more rights or less rights, blacks, Filipinos. I believe in human rights that derive from the creation of people by God.
This is why he's good at what he does. And no amount of British snoot is going to get under his skin, nor should it. And this is that is the power. That is Tucker's power. He compared to anybody else, he's a class of one. He's just that good.